TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Stallion Into Mischief, the #1 apex sire in the world, led by defending Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile champ Golden Sense.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, today's show is all about the Europeans because we're going to talk all about turf racing. And let's start off with the biggest news of the week. Has to be the defection of Wise-Dan. Unfortunately, last week I was touting how good this horse is. Unfortunately, he got injured. Not going to be able to run in this year's Breeders' Cup. Man, that's major news.
It really is. I mean, he was going for his third win in the mile, and he's the only one that's really held serve the last few years for the Americans. I mean, you mentioned we're going to really, inform our viewers about the Europeans because they held such a strong hand coming over for all these turf races, particularly the route races. And now with Wise-Dan out, frankly, I think they hold the upper hand in the mile as well.
All right, well, let's take a look at the top five in the mile real quick, and let's see what happened with the defection of Wise-Dan. I see here that you moved Toronado up to the #1 spot. Yeah. Tell me why.
He's definitely coming, and he loves firm ground. I just think that, you look at his class last year as a 3-year-old, and what he's done again, his body work this year at 4, over firm ground. He has that late turn of foot, John. I think he's the best miler over the course and the conditions that he's going to get, obviously, at Santa Anita, so I moved him up. Charm Spirits won back-to-back Group 1s. Again, we're going to move him up a spot. Trade Storm, he was your Woodbine Mile winner, and he was even a pretty good third in Woodbine Mile behind our 2 top milers last year, Wise-Dan being one of them. And then the speed horse, obviously local. He likes Santa Anita. I'm dropping him a little, though, because when I look at the probables now, I think there's going to be more speed in the race. So it's really going to also set up these late turn of foot closers like the Europeans like to do. So I'm going to move him down a spot, and one of those closers is Anadin. Now, his claim to fame, John, and he's a horse that I wonder if he's going to like firm ground. He's a horse that acts, I think, a little better on soft ground, and he hasn't won a lot of big races there, but he's run big in some big races, and he's a full brother to Goldacova. Okay. So if he can come back and obviously do anything like his sister did a couple times when she came over here, I think you'd have to rate him as a big contender.
All right, we talked about Goldacova. Obviously, she used to come over here and beat the boys, but let's move now to the filly and mare turf. I see here, no surprise here for the TCI top 5. You got in at #1, Dank. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised with that. I guess my only question is, do you think she's still in as good a form as last year?
Well, it's a big question mark. She hasn't run in 4 months. I mean, she hasn't run since June, so essentially she's coming in off of, roughly a 5-month layoff since the last time that she's run. And there's a lot of quiet, if you try to do a lot of research on Dank, you're not going to turn up much. So I'm sort of taking a leap of faith here. This year, again, I think she showed earlier this season running against, some true Group 1 colts at the Royal Ascot meet that she has that class level. She didn't win those races, but she's running against some good horses. For me, since she's proved at Santa Anita, I'm going to keep her in the 1 spot, but I do think it opens up the division pretty good.
All right, here in #2, I see the class rating a little higher than Dank here. That's Tarfasha. Tell me a little bit about her.
Really like Tarfasha, John. I mean, she's really come on this year, and she's taken a lot of money. She was your favorite last time out in the Prix de l'Opera, and she faded to 4th, but she only got beat 3/4 of a length, and all the closers really made up a lot of ground in there, and the horse that she tracked actually ran dead last. So I think her tactical speed is going to be something that will actually serve her well in America over a firm turf course like Santa Anita. I like the fact that, anytime you get a classy European like this, and she is that has that tactical speed over that course, I think it's going to help her.
All right, most of these horses I haven't heard of, but I have heard of Tapestry. Tell me why.
Yeah, Tapestry's a Coolmore filly, and she's a Group 1 winner. Over there this past year, she beat a really good filly by the name of Tagruta over there. If Tagruta were to run in this race, she would be your odds-on favorite, even over Dank. So Tapestry with that class this year as a 3-year-old and that 124 class rating from Briss from Europe, I'm going to put her in the 3 spot.
All right, this is a North American horse here, isn't it, Emollient?
It is, and I think she's North America's best chance simply because she likes Santa Anita, and she hasn't shown her tactical speed this year, John. But if you look at this race, there isn't a lot of speed in this year's filly and mare turf. If she could set the pace like she did last year, I think she'd be tough to catch. So I'm going to put Emollient in the 4 spot.
All right, in at #5, you do this to me every time with these Europeans. Not even going to try to say that name.
2 A's, and it's a silent A, Hadassah.
Okay.
Hadassah's another filly, Shadwell filly over there. Has some good back class, has a big upside. Has a big upside. She's really lightly raced, only run 4 times. She's a 3-year-old, and she was 3rd last time out in the Prix de l'Opera. She actually ran down Tarfascia in there. So that's a filly on the rise, John. If she were to, again, take another step forward, she has that upside.
All right, let's move now to the Breeders' Cup Turf. Joel, this has a huge purse. It's always an exciting race, but like you said, the Europeans always seem to dominate it. You think that's going to happen again this year?
I really do, and a horse that I like at number 1 right now is Telescope. You know, he's a 3-year-old colt. He loves firm ground, and just like Tarfascia, he has tactical speed. You watch him in his races, and he doesn't need to come from the clouds. So at Santa Anita over that firm ground, I think he's going to like the ground, and I like his style in there to be able to lay close. Because I look at this race, and I do think there will be some pace in this race. I mean, there are some North American horses pointing for it that do have some speed. So I think it'll be a more legit race than the F&M Turf in terms of the pace. But I like the fact that Telescope can maybe carve out his trip a little better than some of the Europeans here. When he ran over firm ground at the Royal Ascot meet in a Group 2, I think he won it by 7 earlier this year. He got that 126 class rating. That's a huge Brisnet number coming in, and he's lightly raced. I think he even has some upside.
All right, and at number 2, you got Flintshire. Tell me about that horse a little bit.
I don't know if he's going to come. He just ran in the Arc a couple weeks ago, and he was second behind Trev. High-class colt, loves a 1.25 miles. Certainly, if he comes over, he's going to be your favorite in the turf, John. But we've seen a lot of Arc horses that came over as big favorites. We've seen them disappoint because the ground, even the firm ground that they get over there in France, that these horses like to act over is totally different than the putting green that they're going to run over at Santa Anita.
All right, and at number 3, I see you have Magician. I think everybody knows this horse. He's really, really good.
He is really good, but his form's not as good this year. He hasn't run since the Million, and to me, he was just an okay runner-up in there. I didn't think it was a great Million this year, but the fact that they're probably going to bring him over. They could have brought Ruler of the World and some others over. They're going to probably bring him over to defend. He likes Santa Anita. If they can get him back to top form, certainly he belongs.
All right, and at number 4, Main Sequence. This horse is North American?
He's North American. He's won 3 in a row. Actually, he began his career in Europe. Last 3 races in Grade 1s, won them all from off the pace. Didn't even get the great pace scenario in a lot of them. And a lot of the races, won over multiple turf courses and conditions. You have to love the form that he's in right now. 108 Brisnet number is huge. My question is, can he match the turn of foot with some of the best Europeans? History says no.
All right, and at number 4, you got Brown Panther. Joel, this is just an old, hard-knocking horse, isn't he?
He is. He's a 6-year-old, John. He's a millionaire. But maybe his best race to date was last time out at the Cura. Here's a 6-year-old that won the Irish St. Ledger Group 1 and just blew him away in there. Now, he's shown in his prior form that when he's good, he can replicate multiple races. Can he do that now in the States, running around 2 left-hand turns? Because at the Cura, I mean, they're going up and down the hill. They're going around right-hand turns. Totally different game. But I think he's in good enough form. You have to have him in the top 5.
All right, I'm going to tell you one thing. You better watch out for Mr. Ramsey, because you didn't put not one Kitten's Joy in here. Last year, I remember there was quite a few Kitten's Joy, but on a serious note, without Wise-Dan being in here, the Kitten's Joys aren't running as well as they were last year. Joel, it looks like you're saying that the Europeans are going to sweep all 3 divisions.
I think if you had asked me right now, the turf, the F&M Turf and the Mile, I think they're going to sweep every division. I really do. I think their class, they may even sweep the top 2 places in both, first and second place in all 3 divisions.
Wow.
I think they're that much better than us right now without Wise-Dan.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thanks for informing us on the Europeans, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to talk about some key races that we think will be instrumental in this year's Breeders' Cup.